In the mid-1980s, Gary David Goldberg had a lot to smile about. His sitcom Family Ties was the #2 show in America, and his star, Michael J. Fox, was glowing white hot. But at the very height of success, a personal tragedy sent Goldberg reeling, leading him to write one of the most innovative and memorable sitcom episodes in television history. The only question was, would the network let him make it? Get out your tissues, because this is the tragic yet touching and triumphant tale of My Name is Alex, next on Best Eps. In the late 60s, Gary David Goldberg was a cave-dwelling hippie. No, he really was, even by his own admission. But by the early 70s, as his fellow hippies dropped back into society, Gary found he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with life, until a college writing professor suggested television. Goldberg actually had to go out and buy a TV to find out more, but after watching an episode of Get Christy Love with his wife Diana, he said, "Well, I can do that." Turns out he could. After 2 short-lived series making the grade and The Last Resort, Goldberg struck gold with Family Ties, which exploded after NBC chief Brandon Tartikoff put it on after the juggernaut that was The Cosby Show. Not to mention Michael J. Fox launching into orbit with Back to the Future. Syndication sales of Family Ties earned Gary Goldberg an estimated $65 million virtually overnight, and it made Paramount even richer and eager to buy anything else he had to offer. But then, just as he was reveling in his new Ubu TV empire, Gary got a call from West Palm Beach, Florida that changed everything. While growing up in Brooklyn, Gary idolized his father, George, a simple postal clerk who came home every night and patted his 2 sons on the head, asking how their day was. As Goldberg said later, "That's who I wanted to be when I grew up." But by the mid-80s, lung cancer had caught up to George Goldberg. From a Florida hospital bed, the father looked up to the son and told him he was proud. "When I look at you, I don't know. I must have done something right," he said. As Goldberg recalled in his autobiography, those were his dad's last words. Just 2 weeks later, his mother Annie passed away as well. The loss of his father and mother within 1 month rocked Gary Goldberg perhaps even more than he expected, telling the TV Academy, "You lose somebody and you realize later it's still with you every day." And Goldberg knew he had to write about his grief, to exorcise it from his every waking moment. But what would he write, and for whom? How would he get across this sense of loss he was feeling, especially when he worked in comedy? The answers, it would turn out, came to him while he was sleeping. In Goldberg's dream, Alex Keaton loses a friend, Greg, in a car accident. At first, Alex is in denial about his friend's death, but soon the survivor's guilt and grief begins to consume Alex as he begins to manifest Greg's image, which sends him to seek the help of a psychiatrist. Goldberg told TV Guide that in his dream, he at first saw Alex Keaton only in shadowy vignettes, much like the play Our Town, wherein the main character addresses the audience. But after Goldberg awoke and started writing, he substituted the audience for an unseen psychiatrist. Finally, after putting his pen down that night, Goldberg felt unburdened. But instantly he realized that this script, really no more than one long scene, didn't feel like one fit for Family Ties. "The basic contract with the audience is to provide comedy each week," Goldberg told Newsday in 1997. "So I don't think a half-hour show ever has the license to step completely out of character and do a completely dramatic episode." As Goldberg liked to tell his writers, in TV Guide it still says Family Ties comedy. Hoping to perhaps salvage it though, he turned to supervising producer and Blazing Saddles co-writer Alan Uger. And the script Uger handed back, part tragedy and now part comedy, convinced Goldberg that My Name is Alex now had the potential to elevate the sitcom form. But there was still one major hurdle to get over: Brandon Tartikoff at NBC. When the cast and crew assembled on a January Monday morning to read through the episode, Michael J. Fox raced over to Goldberg and jumped on him, overjoyed. "I'm gonna kill with this. I got it. Thank you. I love it. I got it. I love you. Thank you." But after the table read, they all realized there was one huge problem. The script was running way too long. Soon the writers realized that even with cuts and trims, there was no way they could cram this 37-minute opus into 24:40. And Goldberg realized he had to make a call to Brandon Tartikoff with a big ask. Now, their relationship had been kind of frosty up until this point. Tartikoff famously objected to Fox's casting, saying that his was not the kind of face that would sell lunchboxes. And the two butted heads when Goldberg demanded the same all-expenses-paid vacation TV movie that Tartikoff had given Facts of Life. But now, with Nielsen clocking Family Ties as the nation's #1 show, Goldberg thought he might have the high ground, so he called Tartikoff at home. This next episode, he informed the head of NBC, had to be 1 hour. Tartikoff thought for a second, then said, "Absolutely. Go ahead." Sensing he might have gotten his boss in a good mood, Goldberg went even further. "And we can't have any commercials during the second half hour." Tartikoff's response to this request was silence. The whole reason he jumped at expanding the show to an hour was because Family Ties was pulling in more than $300,000 per 30-second ad. A longer runtime meant more money for NBC, but no commercials? For an entire half hour? No way. Goldberg told him, quote, "Look, creatively, it's just going to make the episode stronger. It's better for the show." Maybe Tartikoff knew that arguing with the notoriously stubborn Goldberg would get him nowhere. He lost the fight over casting Fox after all. Or maybe he was simply busy trying to get Shelley Long to stay on Cheers for another season. For whatever reason, after that long silence, Tartikoff told Goldberg, "Okay, go ahead." He would shuffle the schedule to slot Family Ties from 8:30 to 9:30, preempting Night Court. Goldberg had gotten his big ask, but now he faced another big task, filling out the rest of My Name is Alex to fit that 1 hour and producing that 1 hour in just 1 week. Goldberg and Uger huddled the other Family Ties writers into the cramped but tidy bungalow on the Paramount lot, staying overnight to flesh out the script by 35 pages. Once finished, Goldberg called Mike Fox in the middle of the night to pitch him the expanded story. Fox was thrilled, later calling it the writer's love letter to Alex Keaton. But when rehearsals began the next day, Fox's demeanor had some on the set a little worried, because everyone on the stage could tell Fox seemed petrified by the prospect of doing a one-man show. "I hadn't done much theater coming up," Fox said. "I did a little bit in Canada, but not much." As rehearsals progressed midweek, Goldberg and the episode's director, Will Mackenzie, saw Fox struggling and made an unusual decision to help ease his anxiety. They canceled the Thursday afternoon dress rehearsal to give Fox more time to prepare for the taping the next night. Hopefully, it would be enough. For the Friday night taping, the audience line wove down Gower Street by the Paramount lot. As the 250 or so audience members took their seats, they noted seating cards in the front row, saving spots for Steven Spielberg and Michael J. Fox's parents, Bill and Phyllis, and one, of course, for Brandon Tartikoff. Then, with the script locked, the cameras took their positions, and after the audience quieted down, Will Mackenzie called action.
Next Thursday on a 1-hour Family Ties, Alex faces a crisis and is pushed to the edge.
Why? Why?
An unforgettable performance next week.
My Name is Alex is a tour de force for Michael J. Fox. I mean, how can it not be? He's on screen most of the time. But the episode is more than just a one-man show about death and grief. Deep within its text are two themes Goldberg struggled with after his parents passed away: fatherhood and God. In the 1980s, Hollywood and the moral majority were constantly at odds about the values depicted on television. But rather than balk at the inclusion of the G word, Goldberg and his writers came at it head on. When asked by the psychiatrist whether he believes in God, Alex admits, "That's what this all comes down to, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out here." And Goldberg's father was also clearly on his mind. In one of the episode's best scenes, the therapist asks Alex to talk about his relationship with his dad. Using that Our Town-like segue, we see Stephen Keaton waiting to play catch with his son. As Alex tells the therapist, he regrets sometimes feeling embarrassed by his dad. "He has a great love, my father, not just for his family, but for life. He doesn't have to make you wrong for him to be right. He doesn't have to make you a loser for him to be a winner himself. I wish I was more like my father." Fox later said that he tapped deeply into that last line, calling upon his relationship with his own dad, watching in the stands, but also upon his off-screen relationship with his on-screen dad, Michael Gross. "In that scene, I wasn't making something up," Fox said. Michael Gross played Stephen Keaton as a guy who was just a straight shooter and a great guy. As goofy as he'd get, or silly, or as wrong as you think Stephen is, his heart is in the right place. But the third theme in the episode that often gets overlooked is the idea that a young person would voluntarily seek professional therapy. Now, at the time, the nation was going through a mental health crisis regarding young people, and many in the media pointed out the alarming increase in self-harm among teens. But the very idea of having Alex Keaton, this wisecracking, smart aleck, and seemingly together guy admit he needs help, well, it had a profound impact on millions of young people at home, destigmatizing the act of unburdening their emotions. According to Goldberg, later, teachers, doctors, and counselors wrote into Paramount requesting tapes of the episode to show their students and patients. And Fox himself credits this episode for his decision to seek help after his Parkinson's diagnosis. As he wrote in his biography, Lucky Man, "In many ways, I could relate to Alex's confusion. Like him, I never thought I'd have anything to do with psychologists or psychotherapy. I was always a figure-it-out-myself kind of person, but it was painfully clear to me that this time I didn't have a clue about where to start." It is after Alex starts his therapy session, about 18 minutes in, that the commercials stop, allowing an uninterrupted performance from Fox and his co-stars, including the guest actors, Meg Willey of Star Trek pilot fame, and Brian MacNamara as Greg, until the ending where Alex sits back down with the psychiatrist, the unseen David Wohl, saying he's slowly starting to figure things out. Then Fox looks to the camera, addressing the audience a la Our Town, to say he's ready to continue the session. When Will Mackenzie finally yelled, "Cut," the audience sat stunned. They were overwhelmed, Mackenzie told the DGA. We all were. Then came a standing ovation and emotional elation as the cast and crew high-fived each other and took their bows. When Michael J. Fox came out, they cheered even louder. Said Goldberg later, "It was really one of the greatest nights of theater I had ever seen." My Name is Alex aired on Thursday, March 12, 1987, to adulation in media circles for the episode's writing and, of course, Michael J. Fox's bravura performance. Thanks to NBC's heavy promotion, of the 90 million households with TVs, 36 million had tuned in to this episode. Later that year, the episode would win Goldberg and Uger the Emmy for writing, along with an Emmy for the Our Town-style camera work. And Michael J. Fox would take home an Emmy as well, his third.
I feel 4 feet tall.
Goldberg and Uger later won a Writers Guild Award for comedy, with director Will Mackenzie landing a DGA award. Incidentally, Mackenzie would go on to helm 2 more of TV's best eps, Moonlighting's Atomic Shakespeare and Scrubs' My Musical. On a 1997 TV Guide list of the greatest episodes of all time, My Name is Alex ranked 68th out of 100, and it also beat out 440 other scripts for the prestigious Humanitas Prize, with the organization praising the show for its, quote, formula-shattering exploration of the mysteriousness of life and its proneness to death. After Family Ties ended in 1989, Gary David Goldberg would go on to further explore his relationship with his father in the film Dad, and in 1991's critically praised dramedy Brooklyn Bridge. Gary David Goldberg passed away of brain cancer in 2013. At an Emmy memorial for him that year, Michael J. Fox took the stage with a fitting eulogy. To put it simply, "He changed my life," Fox said, then adding,
To his peers, Gary David Goldberg was the Emmy-winning creator and producer of Family Ties and co-creator of Spin City, among others. To me, Gary was my mentor, benefactor, second father, and beloved friend.